This podcast contains discussions of violent and disturbing content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions expressed are for informational and entertainment purposes only and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast's creators, hosts, or affiliated parties. If you or someone you know is in need of support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional. This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, the last spark of hope in a world running low on signal. You're the boost behind this mic in these static filled times. Stay tuned and stay human. Here's a taste of what's ahead. Gorin, wake up and find himself tied up. Chimagasi is like, yo, with a 171. So you know say, is either me or you, and you more virile, you're stronger than me, so me never go give a chance for you even try nothing with me. So I make sure say you are out of commission. That's not even the half of it. Buckle up, the ride's just getting temporal.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Code Flix.
Welcome to Code Flix, where we analyze sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies through the lens of reality. I'm your host, Andre Bonner, and today I unpack the platform, survival, inequality, and the cost of human nature. Picture this. You wake up in a prison where the higher you live, the better you eat. Every day, a table loaded with food starts at the very top and slowly drops from floor to floor. By the time it reaches the bottom, well, good luck. The Platform is one of the most underrated sci-fi thrillers out there because it forces us to look at the parts of ourselves we'd rather pretend don't exist. It's not really about the prison, it's about people, power, greed, survival, and what happens when society creates a system where some have everything while others have nothing. When one prisoner decides he can't watch the madness anymore, he sparks a revolution that starts on his floor, but aims all the way to the people running the system above. The real question isn't whether the system is broken. It's whether we'll do any better if we found ourselves on the upper floors. Let's step onto the platform. The platform. Spanish El Hoyo. The Hole is a 2019 Spanish dystopian thriller film directed by Galder Gasdello Orientia. The film is set in a large industrial tower named the Vertical Self-Management Center. Residents of the tower are imprisoned in the center as punishment for committing crimes. Every month, prisoners switch between the tower's many floors and are fed by a vertically moving platform with food on it. The platform is initially filled with lots of food, and gradually descends through the tower's levels, stopping for a fixed amount of time on each level. Since the residents of each floor tend to eat as much food as they can, those on the lower floors are unable to eat as much food as those at the top, leading to conflict. The film's cast includes Ivan Massage, Antonio San Juan, Zorian, Igluyar, Emilio Balake Coca, and Alexandra Masakege. It premiered at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival, TIFF, which it won the People's Choice Award for Midnight Madness. At TIFF, the film also secured a worldwide streaming deal with Netflix. It was released theatrically in Spain on 8th of November 2019 by Festival Films. It received generally positive reviews from critics. These are my personal insights and interpretations of the film The Platform. El Hoyo. The Hole. Well, I mean, I tell you, say, this film, I came upon it, one night while scrolling through Netflix, and I was like, this seemed like an interesting watch. Little did I know how crazy this show would turn out to be, right? Luckily, I didn't have any nightmares. It's bad, but it not that bad. It's a good watch. And eventually, what we want to have happen is that this film brings attention to something that society has always been plagued with, right? The idea that the ones on the top, right, seem to get everything, and then what is left for the rest of us down at the bottom, right? And many of us understand that message, and that is what this film is all about, right? Just getting it in there, right? Big spoiler alert, if you missed the disclaimer at the beginning of this episode, this is going to be one of those that I'm going to have to definitely talk about some violence and some stuff, some things, some psychological sitting in there. Yeah, if you are not that strong or you don't feel like you can watch something like this, don't go any further, right? Just turn back. All right, so let me jump right into this deep dive. So the opening scene, or in the beginning of the film, essentially, we see a man named Goran. He awakens in a cell, right? And we see a number, which is number 48. He meets with this guy who's a cellmate, right? In basically like staff ask him some questions because he's new to this thing, right? And the guy kind of hold back, right? Him they really want to tell him nothing and thing, and and he might say, yo, if you not tell me something about you, then I'm going to trust you for tell you anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? So, them there and thing until him start to explain to him how the facility work is, it's this tower holding facility and thing, right? Once per day, food arrives on the platform, right? So when the food come down, Chibagasi jump in and start gorge himself on the food, and him say, boy, some good stuff left here now, you know what I'm saying? And thing, and him talk about the fact, say, when him did upon the other level previous to this, how him never have much food. And even I tell the man, say, him end up eat him cellmate. Yeah. Wasn't that a nice introduction for him? Yeah, if you think so, then I don't know who you are. But this platform only stop for 2 minutes, right? On each of the levels. So it descends after that now and thing. And we see Trebagashi just him that drink a little wine and he just take his wine and just throw it back on the platform as it are descend, right? So you know say nothing no left because that day wine done. And whoever they forget nothing down about them now get no wine because he just take his wine and just dash away, right? So yeah, you know, after talking to Trimagasi and get to understand say you can be randomly reassigned to another level and it could be worse, right? Because the level 48 not so bad because it's closer to the top, so you get a little of the food will come down. But if you depend a level like 132, which is what Trimagasi tell him same they depend and that's in cannibalizing in cellmate, right? Yeah. So them dead in there and thing and them start to kinda rap a little bit and thing. Trimagasi I tell him say because you're allowed to take in, right? So what the film does is that we have some little exposition going on in terms of some cut scenes. So then cut to a scene where we see Gorin coming into the center and talking to this lady. So the lady I tell him, say, ask him some question and Imam Imagori is her name and she's gonna be important as well. So she, him daddy and him a tell her some stuff about himself and what him eat from when him not eat and all of those things, right? So we get to understand from that you know you will be able to get to come in there with one item, right? And you can choose one item, only one item comes in there with you. So Gorin, brings a book, right? I don't remember the exact title of the book, but it's an interesting book he was reading, right? I end up reading to Trimagasi, because Trimagasi I say, boy, but I love you read the book to me, sir. Read and thing. And then we get to find out say what Trimagasi brought in was a knife, right? And it's not any old knife, because he did and him tell you how the knife, this and and how it end up with the knife in the first place. It was that he committed a crime for the knife, right? And him end up coming there with that same knife, right? And thing. So, of course, Goran is like, nigga crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's the look him game. Right? Now, one day, one woman named Miro, she ride down on the platform, right? Now, Trimagasi explained to him, say, boy, she regularly come down on the platform and a search for her bikini, for her child and thing. Gory, I was like, what? He's like anybody else would be like, what? And Gorin said that the reason why him coming there now and volunteer and him, was because he want to get 6 months for a degree. So basically, I'm gonna get a degree, not a degree, a diploma. I'm gonna get a diploma in exchange for 6 months of him life in that facility, right? This is why you must know what you're getting into when you're getting into certain things, people, okay? Just make sure you say, you know what I'm saying? You know the terms and conditions, you know the ins and outs, you do like an investigation. Yeah, just jump into something just because it sounds like a good idea or it sounds so simple, like, 6 months and then feed me every day. You don't know. You don't know if whatever feed or where you're supposed to get, get that day. You know what I'm saying? You don't know the whole thing, right? Tribaga say him, I say, boy, yo, me dey serve a year-long sentence, for manslaughter. So, maybe me will get a degree when I come out, Yeah, maybe I get a diploma when I get out, I was like, yeah. Anyways, now, so, the month done now, and what happened is that the gas start to take hold. Them start smell gas, which causes them to pass out, right? And that is how the system works, where them switch it to a different cell, right? So them gas you and then them take you to another cell, right? Something else I need to explain that I didn't explain from before. So there was that when Gorin first take food for eat and thing. Him a say, boy, I'm gonna save one apple for later, right? Him take food from off a platform and say, I'm gonna save it for later. The place start get hot. You understand? You know, the cell start get hot unseasonably so. Hotter than even this summer that we're experiencing now, right? So Trebega say explain to him say, Abekaya, hold back food, them not allow us to keep food. So go in there, sorry, up just throw it back, make it go, back on the platform as the platform descends. So that is one of the things they do, to kind of keep things in line. So you can't keep food, You know what I'm saying? You can't store up food and you can't, you know what I'm saying? You not get no food like that, it depends on what was eaten up at the top level and what is left. Right. So when time the two of them end up on 171. Now, as I mentioned, two of them get gassed, But Gorin wake up and find himself tied up. Chimagasi is like, yo, with that 171. So say, is either me or you, and you more virile, you're stronger than me. So me never go get a chance to even try nothing with me. So I make sure say you are out of commission. And listen, me not plan for eat you right away. The man literally tell him, the man say him not plan for cannibalize him. Well, my listeners who might be thinking that me just say something different. Cannibalize me, I thought, you know what I'm saying? You know, go eat him and flesh, for food. Yeah. So, he say no plan to do that right away. So, him tell him, say, he want, and then he like him want only pa chatting still. And then, eventually, while they're there, he gets hungry, of course, him start for, because every day now the platform I come down and we notice say no food that really left. You know what I'm saying? The people them up at the top terrible. Then I left nothing for 171 and at all. So Chimagasi start cutting at it in the man leg. Right? Kind of say, boy, me now go to know at the the vital organ there because me no want you fit dead same time because if you dead right away, what gonna happen is that you gonna start rotting and it not go good. The meat not go good. The man start, for sure you say the man done mats out the thing cause he did do it already anyways. So he mats it out and realize say, hey, the best way to do is to just keep you alive long enough but taking bits and chunks off of you as you go, right? Yeah. So that's why I decided to cut a non-vital area on the leg, you know what I'm saying, and take out chunk for eat and stuff. Now, while the man do not know, the platform descend and somebody up on the platform. Now Miro, yeah man, Miro arrive on the platform and you see because of way how Gorin did have compassion on her before, right? And him not say boy, I'm sorry for finding out about her circumstances. She has she kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? She emphasizes with him in that situation, I guess. So she came off the platform and she, deal with Tremagasi and free Gorin, right? She cuts into Tremagasi, right? Killing him, you know what I'm saying, instantly, and cuts into him and she gorges on him and then offers Gorin, some of the meat. Yeah. At first, that's his reaction. He's very repulsed by that, just like any of us would be. But him eventually have to, because after she free him and thing, and she go back on the platform and, go on her very way, you know what I'm saying? It just made sense for them, you know what I'm saying? So the month run off and Gorin wakes up now on level 33. And when him look and see who him dep on the floor with. Now Imagori, right? And she brought her dog. Yes, she brought her dog into the pit. Now, her dog named Ramses too. Imagori was the official, you understand, where she see him one interview Gorin. She, tell him about what he expect when he go in at the pit, right? So she admit herself now into the pit because she terminally ill, right? She now have the diagnosis not look too good for her, right? So she, she just admit herself and her dog and, to keep her company, I guess. So when the platform they send now with the food, right? Imagori say she a go eat a little and her dog gonna eat, but they're gonna do it alternating days. So her dog will eat one day, she will eat one day. And then what she does is she prepares 2 plates for the other level and she insists on the other level only using that or taking what's on that plate and eating for leave the rest for the others, and they should do that in turn. So they must tell the other levels down below. And she try to preach the good gospel of sending down the food to the other levels. So she try every day to try and convince them, right? Of course, Gorin, after way him got through already with all this, he's like, you know what I'm saying? There's some in a sense. Him almost start to sound like Trimagasi in a way where like him start to get very, annoyed at the whole concept of trying to change things inside, right? So she try every day and thing. Now one day, who descend on the platform again? Not Miro again. Now Miro when a Gorin, Gorin fall asleep, right? And wake up for hear Imagori, a ball, right? This is after she come down because she did badly injured when she come down, right? And Imagori take care of Imagori and Gorin, them take care of Mirror. You know what I'm saying? And him explain to Imagori, say, she have a child, right? And thing and whatever. Now, Mirror nurse back to health, but she killed Ramses too. I guess, because she has gotten the taste of, eating anything that is possible. She did that, right? And Imagari, Kosar, and, they almost fight, I guess. You can call it so. You know what I'm saying? They almost fight the way how things almost turn out. Yeah?
The platform is descending, and the table is nearly empty. Before we drop down to the next level to see what's left of humanity, we need to take a quick, heavily rationed break. Consume what you can, protect what's yours, and don't let the despair sink in just yet. You're listening to Code Flix, and we'll be right back.
Every day we choose to keep things for ourselves or to pass them on. This podcast isn't monetized. There's no one at the top making sure it reaches everyone. It only moves because people decide it should. If you enjoyed this episode, don't let it stop with you. Share it with a friend or a colleague. Leave a comment. Every listen, every follow, every share sends one more message that good stories deserve to keep moving. Because sometimes the message is more important than the platform. Of course, when Gorin tells Imagori, say, boy, she a look for her child, and that's why probably she a come down and stuff. And I say, we don't send children into the pit. We don't know because, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody come through, so we would not know whether or not people, children come into the pit. And she knows says she did come alone because she interview her. So, of course, the month done, and they are on another level. Now, before I tell you what level they are, Ibagori tell Gorin say the amount of levels them kind I say, tell me how much levels, and she tell him the amount of levels them would that be just under 200, right? Or something like that. So they wake up find themselves on 202. Now Gorin wake up, I mean. And when he wake up and look, he see Imagori has hanged herself. Yeah. Now, you work as an official and you send people into the pit. And you can say she have compassion for the people them in the pit and she try to help them out. And she realized that all this time when she thought that things were a certain way, that it was completely different. Like the amount of levels in the pit. You can imagine the amount of sheer frustration, emotional breakdown she might have had. That I wish they would have portrayed that in the film. Right? But Goran wakes up and he sees her, right? Of course, with no food coming that way, because it's at the farthest there that he has been, right? And we are watching him going there. You kind of feel pulled in teeth, like you say, yo, what we are going to eat? Of course. You know what I'm saying? Now, Goran starts to have some hallucinations, right? Well, I think he was starting to have a few from before that. Him start to have hallucinations of Trimagasi, right? And now him start to have hallucinations of Imagori. So two of them on occasion would come in and chime in on certain things that he's thinking about, and I talk to him in a certain way. And yeah, eat my flesh, like, bro, the thing crazy. That part of it was crazy, right? So probably it's just the fact that he has not eaten in a long while. That's probably part of it. Or probably the fact that he might eat human flesh. You know what I'm saying? Uncooked. Because it was like he cooking. I don't know. I think I know cooking utensils or nothing like that. And I know if you clean or nothing like that. So a whole heap of different things happening there, right? I did warn you, okay? I did warn you. So if you come right this far and you are coming through it, then you're a real soldier. I tell you. Anyways, so or if you have been watching the film, right? If you watch the film, then yeah, he's a real trooper. Now, the next month come now and Gorin get assigned to level 6. Whew. We feel good, right? A new cellmate named Barat, a black guy. And I have to mention, he's a black religious guy and he seems to be Muslim, right? Now, he try to escape. You understand? Kind of say him reach this close now. Him have him rope. Him can't rope in the pit. That is the thing that he get we can in the pit with him. And he take a rope and him a throw up to the persons them up at the top, and because him a say to them, say, him a plead to them, please make me climb up. You know what I'm saying? And we can get out of this pit. I need to get out and thing. It's like, yeah man, come, come. Then placate the man. You know what I'm saying? They make him climb the rope. No, dear listener, you know what I'm saying? This terrible. The man climb up your rope. How they reach? Was up to the top for climb over into them level, right into level 5. They turn their backsides to him and they dumped on him. Not even this podcast can say say them thing there. You know what I'm saying? But they dumped on the man. And that cause if you fall, you know what I'm saying? Who wants that in their face, right? Yeah. Now, going there and him, I try if he understand, the man and thing, he was say that he estimates about 250 levels and thing, and Gorilla convince Bharat now, say, them need to ride the platform down, right, for ration the food, alright? And this is because he has been having the hallucinations and through where I got through and to understand where I come from and the type of person he is, and he must say, yo, him can't reconcile becoming too, hard because of the system, right? And probably because of imagory and fear hallucination attack team and thing, right? So, I'm convinced the guy, say, yeah, let's do that. You know what I'm saying? And thing, and him decide, say, yeah, all right, cool, we can do that. So they arm themselves because, of course, them know, say, once them descend, people gonna attack them. You know what I'm saying? So them descend, and the first 50 levels, they make sure so them don't get nothing because them get to eat every day. So them will survive one day without food, right? And then the others them will start dish out the food. So then them go down, and as them go down, them a make sure say the people them on the first 50 level not eat nothing. And them a fuss and some of that I try to fight and some of them try to steal food and Bharat and Gorin just clap them with a piece and just lick them so look. You know what I'm saying? So after the first 50, the other 50 get to eat something and thing, and him try then make sure so they don't eat more than so that them can keep the food going down the levels, yeah? So them did and thing. Now they reach down to one fellow prisoner of Bharat. Him was a former cellmate. The two of them when I see him cell at one point, and the two of them basically have that bond and understanding. So him plead to him and him say, may I agree with what you're doing now, Bharat, but you can do it more civilized. Yeah? X out the violence, man, and give the message. You need to send a message to the upper levels. Show them say we have civility down here. We're civilized human beings. We're not animals. And so the two of them feel empowered by that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. So them decide, say, them going to send a symbolic message, right? Because the upper levels always, when the platform ascends back, usually it would be empty of food. But they're going to make sure that when it ascends again, it's going to go up with one delicious meal, untouched, unblemished, a panna cotta. Right? And for some we will just have to find out what panna cotta is because of this film. It is a Italian dish, right? It's basically like a dessert, right? With cream and gelatin and thing. Hopefully we can travel to one of them countries that we have a panna cotta and buy a panna cotta or, try a panna cotta, But, yeah. Back to the film. So, yeah, them descend with the panna cotta in tow, making sure so them, them still make sure so people can't eat, But at the same time, the panna cotta will not be touched, right? So Bharat have it in him hand, and him a one piece of high hand there, and him a make sure say, oh, nobody not touch it, right? Now, when they reach a certain level now, so my prisoner them get very irate and them not cooperate with it none at all. So them stuff we attack them, right? And sorry. What happens is that them see Mirror, right? So Mirror, and I am butchering the name. I know I've said many different names throughout this podcast, right? But Mirror is being attacked, right? By some man and thing, and look at them probably plan for rape her or something and thing, So them try to save her and thing. She get killed, and them get severely injured, right? I mean severely. Now Gorin and Bharat end up, being able to get back on the platform and descend. Them reach down upon level 333. 333. So how much it was before? It was like 100 and something, and then it turned out to be 200, and then now it turns out to be 300. 300 and odd? No, sir. So while Gorin there and I'm peeing because he half dead and thing, right? Him notice one child, right? And the picking look the resemblance of Miro, right? So the two of them get off the platform, right? And make it continue downward without them, right? And then them dead here and thing, them are bleed out and them can hardly get to their wounds and thing. In and out of consciousness, basically. Them decide say them are feed the little girl the Panna Cotta, cause if she dead here, so that means she not eat for how long, right? Of course, the Panna Cotta was a message, right? So now they have to take a message and feed it to the child, right? Now, that night, Bharat shake Gorin awake and tell him, say, the girl is the message. But then Gorin awakens. And then we realize, say, yo, him does that dream. Because when him look round, him say, Bharat has bled to death. Poor Bharat. He shall be remembered. Now Gorin and the girl, ride the platform down, because the platform come back again, come back down and ride it down to the very, very bottom level. Right? Now Gorin plan is to protect the message, because I'm saying the message needs to go up. However, he might have a hallucination dream again with Trimagasi, right? And Trimagasi encourage him to get off the platform, right? Yeah, know the message. The message is the child, right? The child is the message. The message needs no bearer. That sort of thing. So, Gorin get off the platform, and I tell you, when you look around inside of, where he is, that the bottom level, it just seems like it's like this basement level where there's no light, so you can't really see anything, right? So you assume, say, basically this is like a sewer system or something, right? Some lower level where nothing goes, no one ever goes. And I'm just get off the platform and walk off into the distance, right? Leaving the girl to go up. And then, when you reach a good distance away from the platform fly go up, because what happened is the platform it don't go up slowly like how it descends slowly, It fly go up, right? Miles per second or whatever it is, right? Yeah. And then just watch the child just ascend. So, yeah. And there's something I need to add because I didn't remember to add here, me and getting excited about some of the points that I'm really excited about. But there's this little point or scene where we see the upper levels, we see where they are, the kitchen, basically, the chefs are preparing the dishes, I guess, for the day and so on, and, lining it out on the platform and stuff. And then there's another scene where we actually see the Panna Cotta. Right, we saw the Panna Cotta. This is before the Panna Cotta was even mentioned in the film. Again, we just see it there, them talking about it, and the chef seemed to be very irate, upset at his staff. Him just look around pan all and staff like he say, "What happened to the Panna Cotta?" But we don't hear him, audibly. We just kind of assume what he's saying, right? So I think the film is kind of linked there, and probably that's what happened, right? When they, at that point. But now we see the child, right? We see that child going up, right? But then this is something I will leave for my theories. Those are my insights and interpretations of the film, the platform. I hope that you enjoyed it, because I surely, surely did. These are some theories about unresolved mysteries and plot points. So, the child at the end. Who is she? How is she there? Now, the film repeatedly states that no underage kids are in the pit and no pregnant women are allowed. But yet, still, we see a young girl who is around roughly 8 to 9 at the lower levels, right? And she seems to be quite hungry, meaning she's been there for a good while. Because when them give her the Panna Cotta, you can see she just gobble it up. She didn't even take her time. So there are some theories about that. She might be actually Mirror's daughter, right? She was hidden in the system, perhaps, right? Everybody has say she crazy, right? Because she claims say she has searched for her child, right? But the girl's resemblance and the way how Miro continuously every month descend into the pit suggests, what I'm saying, that she might be trying to smuggle food to the child. Yeah. She might have snuck her in somehow, right? Some way in which she is off the register. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps, you know what I'm saying? That is how she survived. Theory 2. The administration placed her intentionally, right? Her clean fitted child size coverall and the way all her health seems to be imply that she might have been a control variable, an innocence test by the architects, right? Where seek to have a symbol of purity that can penetrate the chefs and the administration, right? Theory 3. Gorin's dying hallucination. So, given the trauma and the loss of blood, right? It is not uncharted territory if it suggests that, the final floor, right, which some argue the girl is a metaphor, right, that was made visible because of all of that, right? In some ways, that could have been like the last hope of humanity, right? That Gorin, imagine him can send her upward, right? Yeah. Who run the administration? And what is the experiment's true purpose? We only ever hear the administration. We never see the decision makers, the actual headquarters, Yeah, it just seems separated from, a clear line drawn in the sand as to who these people are, right? And what they represent. So theory 1 is that it's a social engineering lab for elites, right? The fact that you have the lavish kitchen, right, supervised by a suited overseer, points to a class of people testing how scarcity and randomization influence violence, cooperation, and moral compromise. Essentially, it's like a cruel study of capitalism and hierarchy. Theory 2. It's a political or ideological demonstration. The name administration, in quotes, could literally mean a government apparatus using the pit to justify policy. For example, people are too greedy to share, so inequality is inevitable. Theory 3. Private sadists, philanthropists. They are funding this moral experiment. The structure resembles a privately funded long-running behavioral study where donors watch outcomes like a grotesque reality show. And that is very apparent too because, at that point where they show us that you can't keep food, there must be some mechanism, right? Some way for them to know exactly what's going on down there in the pit, right? In each level. So there must, there must have been something that they were in control of in terms of that. So that's why, I think there's some validity to that last one. Then, do people ever leave? And what eventually happens to Gorin? So Gorin enters voluntarily for a diploma after 6 months, right? But the film never really confirmed, anyone actually exists, right? Like that actually happens. So the theory is no one leaves, right? This idea of a diploma, quote unquote, is a lie. The promise of release may be a control mechanism to keep volunteers compliant. The system depends on steady inflow of new bodies who believe escape is possible, right? So you want to get people into the thing. So you encourage them with a little bit of salt, a little cheese, if you will, right? Theory 2. Release happens, but only for the complacent, those who are a part of the whole thing. So those who embrace the system's brutality or work as enforcers might be recycled into staff or freed, right? And this is a wild one out there, right? So the idealists die or them get stamped out or disappear, right? And this would fit the theme that the structure rewards ruthlessness. And then number 3 is Gorin's fate. He likely dies on the lower levels after the failed result. The girl ascends in the film's final image, right? But there's no proof of his survival. Yeah? Why Panna Cotta? And what message was it meant to send? So, Gorin and Bharat choose the untouched Panna Cotta as the message to the top, right? Here are the theories, right? It is the purest symbol of restraint, right? In the context of the grotesque overconsumption, an untouched dessert such as this signals that there is mutual cooperation and self-limiting, right? Meaning, say, you keep things in check, discipline, right? And it is still possible, even at those lower levels. So if those above are able to see, right, they would understand. Theory 2, cultural ritual significance. Some people argue that it's a deliberate, almost ceremonial offering, something delicate that requires collective discipline to preserve, right? And that makes it survival a proof of moral, some moral judgment, technology, time, and the building mechanics. So the film gives almost no outside world context, no clear year, limited tech clues, and no explanation of how the platform floats or who maintains it. So here are the theories. Deliberate timelessness. By avoiding the specific dates and the tech markers, the story becomes an allegory that could fit many societies, right? Reinforcing its class struggle metaphor. Yeah? Theory 2. The mechanism is irrelevant by design. The focus is on behavior under scarcity. The how is intentional obscurity, right? So viewers fixate on the ethics, not the engineering, right? So those are the theories. What are your theories? Share your favorite moments, characters, theories. Let me know in the comments. In this episode, we looked at the platform, survival, inequality, and the cost of human nature. And you know, this film, it is a perfect metaphor for how hierarchy works in society. And many have come trying to ride that platform. Some of them never come back down the levels. They never try to bring others with them. And some never tried to send others in hopes of making a change. And perhaps it is just the way how things are. That once you have reached that level, you have no say in how the other things work. Maybe we have it all wrong. And the administration, the top level who send the food are hoping that someone will understand, and have been trying that for how long? Perhaps if Imagori didn't come down, then Gorin would not have had his incentive to go on this quest to send a message. Perhaps if Trimagasi didn't try to eat Gorin, yeah, he would not have had that incentive. Or perhaps he didn't need it any at all. Perhaps he had it all along. Perhaps that pushed him to become worse and act in the same manner as Trimagasi. But you know, this is something that we do know for sure. We do know that we all have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to learn, and it is all dependent upon what we take from the learning. What we're going to take away from not just this podcast, but this movie. What can we send out as the message? Send up the chain. Send up the hierarchy. Send to the higher levels. Because maybe somewhere out there, people are having it worse than us. Way worse. And we don't even know how far the pit descends. That's it. And that's the wrap on this episode. We've crossed another milestone, and now the mission continues as we set our sights on 2,000 downloads. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to follow, like, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. This content is CAN-credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org.